Ебать, ебать, пацаны. Ебать.
Hello? Hello?
Instagram user Maju Space was on a multi-day trek to reach a volcano in Chichicastenango, Guatemala. And while camping nearby one night, he captured a stunning but unsettling sight. Lightning cutting through an erupting volcano. It was a rare event called a dirty thunderstorm, created when particles in volcanic ash collide and produce electrical charges. The same phenomenon has been recorded in Indonesia and even noted during the ancient eruption of Mount Vesuvius. Beautiful to witness, but undeniably haunting when seen up close. One evening, a group of young people were spending time in a quiet park when they noticed something strange.
Acércale más con la cámara.
Mándale así. Uy, vete a la
No mames, sí, güey, ahí está. Mira, ahí está.
media cara, güey. Es media
Mira.
cara nada más, güey.
Mira,
Sus orejitas,
ahí
güey.
está, güey. Neta.
A face seemed to be looking at them from the trunk of a nearby tree, with faint shapes resembling eyes, a nose, and a mouth forming in the bark. Some online said it looked supernatural, as if something in the woods was watching them, while others brushed it off as pareidolia. Still, in the dim park lighting, the sight felt unmistakably unsettling. A group of friends were camping deep in the woods when they noticed something genuinely disturbing, a strange figure peering out from behind a tree. It had light-colored fur, small, dark eyes, a nose far tinier than a human's, and thin, almost delicate lips. The person who captured the footage believed it might be a younger Sasquatch or some kind of unknown forest creature. Jody Dean and his wife were on an overnight camping trip in a forest said to be haunted. After hours of bad weather and unsettling noises that only added to their anxiety, they returned to their tent and saw someone wearing a disturbing baby mask.
There's somebody by our tent. There's somebody by our tent. Stay behind me. Stay behind me. There's somebody by our fucking tent, bro. There's somebody by our tent. Dude. Bro, there's somebody by our tent.
Stay behind this tree.
Standing near their campsite, Jody immediately led his wife to safety before deciding to stay behind and finish the night alone. Strange sounds continued echoing around him through the darkness, but by morning, he managed to make it through unharmed. A wildlife enthusiast captured a bear on his trail camera in the Appalachian Mountains. But this wasn't a typical bear. It had only 2 working hind legs, which forced it to walk upright like a human. At first, the footage looked eerie, especially considering how deep in the Appalachians it was recorded. But the camera owner eventually realized it was simply a disabled bear. The encounter raised an interesting question. How many blurry trail cam cryptid sightings might actually be injured or deformed animals instead? A YouTuber and his friends went camping deep in the Brazilian forest, spending the day hiking and filming before setting up their tents in a quiet clearing. Later, while resting inside, they noticed a pair of glowing eyes along the tree line.
No puede ser, amigo. Desapareció, amigo. Búsquenlo. Sigue estando ahí. Se corrió.
Staring straight at them, something moved quickly, climbed a nearby tree, and continued watching, frightening them enough to pack up and leave immediately. On the walk back, they couldn't shake the sense that something was trailing them, as those glowing eyes seemed to follow them down the path. The footage looks like an animal, yet the way it stared and the way it moved felt disturbingly unnatural. While hiking deep in the forest, someone suddenly spotted something unsettling and snapped a quick photo. A strange figure sitting among the trees, its face appearing almost skeletal, and its body looking like a mix of branches and fur. With no explanation for what it was or where it came from, the image left many wondering whether it was connected to some kind of ritual or something far more sinister. A man was camping deep in the forest when he stumbled upon an old camper and recorded something strange inside. Someone, or something, seemed to be moving around in it, frightening him enough to make him run immediately. When he later reviewed the footage, it was hard to tell what he had actually seen, as the figure's outline and movements looked faint and almost ghost-like. In 2017, a man reviewing footage from his trail camera noticed something unsettling: a deer standing in the frame with its neck appearing unnaturally twisted. Some viewers insisted the image had been edited and wasn't physically possible, while others believed there was something more to it, suggesting the animal had been caught mid-transformation. To this day, the photo's authenticity remains unconfirmed. A man was camping when he heard rustling just outside his tent, and when he stepped out to check, he spotted movement in the darkness. Startled, he grabbed his camera and began recording. But it was impossible to tell whether it was an animal or something entirely different. Terrified, he backed into his tent, praying quietly and waiting in silence for whatever it was to move on. What happened for the rest of the night was never revealed, and he never learned what had been out there with him. Amateur photographer Mark Baker was sitting in his van near Guildford, England, testing the timer on his new camera to capture the morning fog. When he later reviewed the automatic shots, one image immediately stood out: a pale, human-like figure, faintly glowing through the mist. He insisted the photo wasn't edited, explaining that the dark specks were just dirt on his windshield, while the figure appeared far beyond the glass. The location added to the unease. The Mount, once known as a site for public executions. That history left many wondering whether the image was nothing more than a trick of the light, or if Mark's camera had captured one of the lingering spirits said to haunt those fog-covered hills. This black and white photo shows Barbara Kent and her friends cooling off in a river near Ruidoso, New Mexico, during the summer of 1945. At first glance, it looks like a carefree moment from a camp session, yet behind those smiles, a quiet disaster was already beginning. On July 16, 1945, the world's first atomic bomb was detonated at the Trinity site, only about 40 to 50 miles away. The blast lit up the early morning sky and shook the girls awake in their cabins. Hours later, white particles drifted across the mountains. Thinking it was a rare July snowfall, the campers ran outside in swimsuits, laughing as they tasted the flakes and wiped them across their faces. Barbara later recalled noting how strange they felt, warm instead of cold. None of them knew they were standing in radioactive fallout. Officials dismissed the explosion as an ammunition accident and insisted there was no danger. No warnings were issued. No one was moved. Of the 12 girls at the camp, Barbara Kent was the only one who lived into middle age. Most of her friends died young, many before 40. Barbara developed 4 different cancers over her lifetime. Her teacher and even her mother, who stayed nearby during the camp, also died of cancer. What once seemed like a joyful photograph now serves as a haunting reminder of innocence lost, children unknowingly playing in a radioactive snowfall that would shape the rest of their lives. Dan Ventures Outdoors usually shares calm camping videos, but this trip was nothing like his usual outings. He and a friend set up their gear deep in the woods, had a couple of beers, and settled in for the night. When the forest grew unusually still, Dan began hearing footsteps circling the tent, followed by a faint whistle drifting through the dark.
I don't know if you can hear that. It sounds like someone or something walking around.
Hello? Hello? I'm talking about. It's not a quick look. I'm not getting home. I think it might just be like an animal or something. Can't hear anything now. But it sounded like human footsteps.
He called out, but no one answered, and his friend hadn't moved. Whatever was out there, whether an animal or something else entirely, turned a quiet evening into a moment that still unsettles him to this day. A man was exploring an armory by himself when he stumbled upon something disturbing, a newly dug pit in the dirt. The area was isolated, fenced off, and surrounded by brush. He took a picture, phoned a friend, and rushed back to his vehicle. Authorities suggested it might have been made by someone searching for artifacts, but the pit looked far too deep for that explanation. They placed trail cameras around the site and told him not to return. He never received updates, yet that pit still unnerves him today. During a summer camp session, a group of kids took this photo, and at first everything looked perfectly normal. Smiling faces, tools in hand, just another camp memory. But when the image is zoomed in, a face appears between two girls on the right. It looks semi-transparent and doesn't match any of the other children. Everyone who was present that day is already accounted for. So who was it? Some people say it's nothing more than lighting and shadows, a classic case of pareidolia. Others argue the detail is too clear to dismiss. What do you think? Outdoor Tom, Luke's son from Outdoor Boys, joined his dad for a 4-day fishing and camping trip along the Togeek River. On the third day, Tom wandered off to check out a nearby spot, and that's when everything changed.
I was right next to him.
Yeah, he was coming around the corner. You see that? You scared him.
Why is he scared of me?
He saw you and he just came running upstream. Now here, Kylie, I got a fish on.
Okay. The one I saw him, he was staring right at me. He looked a little bit smaller, so he may have been younger. Oh, I don't.
You want to come hang out with me instead of over there by the bear?
Yeah. Have you had stuff happen to you like that before? Well, we do not tell mom. We do not tell mom. Until once we get back.
A bear suddenly appeared just a few feet in front of him. Startled, Tom ran back to his dad, clearly shaken. Luke stayed calm, holding his ground until the bear eventually moved on. They kept fishing afterward, but both agreed on one thing. They wouldn't be telling mom about it until they were safely back home. A couple from Greenville, South Carolina, snapped a few photos while spending the day out together. Later, they noticed something strange in the background. When they zoomed in, it looked like a figure hovering slightly above the ground. They hadn't seen anything unusual when the picture was taken. After posting it on Facebook, a local reached out a few days later with an explanation. The figure turned out to be nothing more than a patch of standing water that had darkened over time. A little anticlimactic, but at least this mystery ended with an answer. YouTuber Pasha headed into an abandoned forest village, a place locals claimed was visited at night by an old woman who wandered through the trees. As he moved deeper into the woods, he began noticing wooden symbols hanging above him, some tied with strands of hair and bits of string. Soon after, pieces of candy started appearing along the path, leading him to a house marked with the same disturbing symbols. he had barely stepped inside when he heard something shifting outside. Rushing out to check, he found the area completely empty. Unnerved, Pasha left the forest immediately, still unsure who or what had been out there with him that night. Two men ventured into an old uranium mine in Uzbekistan. They kept moving deeper until they reached a massive vertical shaft that seemed to drop endlessly into the dark. They leaned forward, trying to gauge how far it went, when something unexpected happened.
Ебать, ебались, пацаны. Ебать.
A sharp metallic crash rang out, followed by a high, echoing scream rising from below. They froze for a moment before sprinting back toward the entrance, leaving behind everything they had brought in. Later, someone online suggested it could have been shifting air or metal collapsing somewhere in the mine, but others believe something still occupies that place, something far outside normal explanation. It must have felt unmistakably clear to them that they weren't down there alone. Late one night, a woman heard strange sounds coming from behind her house. Thinking it was just an animal, she grabbed her phone and followed the noise to an old well. That's where she saw it, something that didn't look human at all. Terrified, she ran straight back inside without looking back. Real or staged, the footage remains deeply unsettling. In 2012, Charles Taylor was hiking near the Norway-Sweden border. When he reached the 1,200-meter summit, he began filming the view, a remote, perfectly still lake with no signs of wildlife. But as his camera panned across the water, something unusual appeared.
Pace for you guys up front.
Dude, it just broke into two now.
Maybe it's two
Now it's
mating
gone.
snakes. Do they mate? Yes, everything mates.
Nope, now it's started up again.
Dude, I'm pretty sure it's ice.
Pretty sure ice doesn't move that quickly.
Away from it now.
No. It's making like S turns. It's moving pretty quick. And then it disappears, and then reappears.
A bright object moved rapidly across the surface, splitting apart and reappearing in an odd pattern. Charles wondered if it could have been drifting ice, a small boat, or maybe even an animal, but none of those explanations fit. No boat could reach that lake. The movement was far too quick for ice, and the behavior didn't resemble anything recognizable. Years later, no one has been able to clarify what Charles actually captured that day. A team from the YouTube channel Hunting the Dead decided to experiment with the Randonautica app, the one known for sending users to random and at times unsettling locations. This time, it led them to a deserted back road where they found something disturbing, a doll placed beneath a rock. Curious, they took it with them and later used a spirit box to see if anything might be tied to it. The responses hinted that something negative was attached.
Is there something evil or demonic attached to this doll, like my friend thinks? What? I say yes?
Yet despite the warnings, they still chose to bring the doll home. It raises an unsettling question. Why would anyone take back a doll that had been deliberately left deep in the woods? While staying at a cabin in the woods, a woman discovered a strange object.
I have a question. What the hell is this? What the hell is this? Right? It's got like little wings or whatever. I saw it. I thought it was like a flower petal, but clearly it's not. What is it? I don't think praying mantis. So if anyone's got a clue, I'm very invested in finding out what that is.
With wing-like features she couldn't identify. She posted it online, but no one seemed to know what it was, prompting some to speculate about something mythical. Not long after, another video appeared showing a hiker spotting something unusual that moved too quickly to recognize. Whatever these things were, they left viewers with more questions than answers. If you have any idea what they might be, let us know. Late one night, on an empty stretch of road, an Uber driver spotted something unusual on his dash cam. A small figure was standing in the middle of the lane. It looked like a child. He slowed, flipped on his high beams, and the image sharpened. A kid-sized figure, wearing only a diaper and gripping a stick, alone in the darkness. The driver maintained the footage was genuine and backed it up with clips from his dash cam and his Uber trip log. Just 2 minutes later, he was pulled over by police for a broken headlight, and he told the officer exactly what he had seen and where. He later shared the experience on Reddit, saying that although the video appears unclear, seeing it in person left no doubt. It was a child. Was the kid in danger? Or was something else going on? And in that moment, what would you have done? A man was hiking through remote terrain late at night when he suddenly came across something deeply unnerving. He stopped in his tracks, breathing hard, his flashlight trembling as it lit up a figure in the distance. Then it began to move, crawling backward up the hillside. Whether it was an elaborate prank or something far more unusual, no one can say for certain. And honestly, some people would prefer not to know. While hiking in Mexico, someone captured footage of something unusual. A star-shaped object drifting slowly behind the bushes. Some viewers argued it was nothing more than a balloon or maybe a drone gliding through the air, while others believed it was something far stranger. No one can say with certainty what it actually was, but the sight left the hiker wondering whether they had witnessed something out of the ordinary. This next clip comes from a YouTube user known as ForestFireNut21, recorded around 2 a.m. in December 2014. The video itself is almost completely dark, but the audio is what makes it disturbing. The uploader lives next to a forest, and the sounds were coming from somewhere deep in the trees. It resembles a child screaming, and if you listen closely, you can faintly hear a man's voice calling out, asking where someone is. The child sounds like they're crying, maybe calling for their father, as if something was very wrong. In the days afterward, the uploader checked the news, hoping for answers, but nothing was ever mentioned. It truly sounded like someone needed help. He never said whether he contacted the authorities, so everything else remains a mystery. All anyone can hope is that whoever was out there that night ended up safe, and that the real story wasn't as dark as the recording suggests. A man was roaming through the woods searching for old artifacts, casually filming his quiet morning as he explored. Everything seemed calm until he bent down to pick something up from the ground.
Ring neck. 2 ring necks. Oh, they're getting away. Oh my goodness.
As the camera shifted closer, a cottonmouth snake came into view, just inches from his arm. Cottonmouths are venomous, capable of causing severe pain, swelling, tissue damage, and other dangerous complications. While a healthy adult can usually survive if treated quickly, the bite still requires immediate medical attention. The man had no idea how close he was to real danger. One wrong move and his peaceful search could have turned into a life-threatening emergency deep in the woods. A Facebook user shared a family photograph that had sat on their grandparents' shelf for as long as they could remember. It showed their aunt and uncle's home in Rhode Island. Everything seemed ordinary until one Thanksgiving, when a cousin pointed out something strange in the window behind them. A man standing there. No one in the family had ever recognized him. They scanned the photo and sent it to their uncle, asking if he knew who the figure was. Uncle Jay said he had no idea. He confirmed that no one else had been at the house when the picture was taken in 1977, though he admitted that plenty of odd things had happened there. Their aunt and uncle moved out more than 20 years ago, and no one noticed the figure until the cousins pointed it out. Now the photo has become a family ghost story, one that resurfaces every time they visit their grandparents' home. He and his friends pulled into their campsite late at night when one of them suddenly hit the horn. They turned to see a strange woman climbing onto the roof of their car, murmuring about the kids, even though none were with them.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. We have to move because of this.
She hissed, lunged toward the group, and then bolted into the woods. They left right away. Whether it was a prank or something far stranger, the way she bent the car roof and behaved didn't feel harmless, and they never learned who she was or where she came from. These guys were out fishing in the forest when they came across something unexpected.
We're behind the shooting range and we're like back in the middle of nowhere. And there's like fucking lights and shit up here. And the trees, like, what the hell? Alright, be quiet. We're going up here. We're going to check it out. Dude, this is the trippiest footage.
Curious, they walked closer and discovered lights arranged deep in the woods, far from any trails or nearby homes. The setup felt strange, almost ritualistic, yet no one was there. It could have been some sort of hidden rave, but with the lights still running in the middle of nowhere, the whole scene felt unnervingly out of place. That's it for tonight. Which moment creeped you out the most? Drop it in the comments. Have your own story? Share it with us, and stay tuned. The next one is even darker.